What if I told you that maybe my favorite YouTuber has made multiple 30-minute videos discussing Dragon Ball Z, a 30-minute video on why wrestling is cool, and the peak of the content he has made, a video discussing Sonic porn? Yes, the YouTuber I am talking about is Super Eyepatch Wolf. And all jokes aside, he is one of my favorite YouTubers, and I think there is a lot of value to be found in looking at the work of Eyepatch Wolf, as he is one of the best critics currently uploading to YouTube. YouTube is a fantastic place where a lot of creators make a lot of great videos and add new perspectives to the world that I think are worth taking very seriously. Now, of course, like any medium, there is a lot of terrible work out there, and it can be oh so easy to dwell on the bad, but I think it is far more valuable to put up the people that make genuinely good work on this platform than to promote the people who make garbage. So I want to try and look at a few of the aspects of Super Eyepatch Wolf's videos to see why I resonate with them so much, and hopefully do the incredibly high quality of content that he produces some justice. There are three main aspects to Eyepatch Wolf's videos that make them a cut above the rest of the video essays that I watch: narrative, criticism, and emotion. Narrative is something that is often overlooked on YouTube, especially in the realm of video essays and really just essays in general. Narrative plays a huge part in why the audience feels connected to what you are talking about. It is easy to see how Eyepatch Wolf creates interesting narratives because of how attached I feel to things that I have never actually experienced before. Take, for example, his Shenmue video, where he discusses the tragedy of Shenmue, Sega's last hope to compete in the console war. I had never heard of Shenmue before watching that video, and I only clicked on the video because it was made by Eyepatch Wolf, and now I have seen it more times than I'm willing to admit. Because of that video, I feel an emotional connection to Shenmue, a game that I have never played, due to the narrative that Eyepatch Wolf was able to create around it.
But that story would never conclude. 20 years later, Ryo's quest for revenge goes unfulfilled. The Shenmue series itself enduring a hiatus that's lasted nearly 2 decades.
The ability to craft a narrative seems very simple on the outset. Hook your audience with a mystery, ask a question, and give an answer. And, well, it is pretty simple, but it can be so easy to forget sometimes, and Eyepatch Wolf applies it to every single video he makes, creating intrigue and then following through with a satisfying conclusion to every story. Every video he makes is set up to ask a very simple question: why you should watch blank, why you should care about blank, what are my favorite shows, what are the current popular titles in Shonen Jump. Every single video has a very clear goal, and within the first 2 paragraphs, he sets up the emotional and narrative thread for that specific video.
Akira is the most important moment in the history of modern anime. No other piece of media has even come close to the seismic effect this film has had on anime as a global industry.
Narrative can be overlooked at times because it seems so simple. Still, for Eyepatch Wolf, it feels so easy because of the level of craft that has gone into constructing his videos. And his narrative threads have become more complex as he has grown with his channel. Specifically, the 3 bizarre modern reality videos. The question is simple: what is the modern reality of The Simpsons or Sonic the Hedgehog? Throughout the video, he not only explores what made the series great in the first place, but details a story of how much the series has changed over time, arriving at Bart Kira and Sonic porn. Even with every video having a strong narrative, Eyepatch Wolf is still a critic and essayist at his core, so of course he must have valid and compelling criticisms of the things he is talking about. Now, not all of his videos are based in criticism. Many of them are his own personal recommendations, and others feel far more like a journalistic piece than a straight-up opinion. Still, my favorite of these videos is where he shows the different ways in which a story functions. Quickly, I want to break down the types of videos that Super Eyepatch Wolf makes to hopefully add some context for the way that he looks at a series. I've broken down his 84 videos into 5 different categories that more or less show the types of videos he makes. First, we have the Why You Should Watch series on his channel, which makes up about 26% of his videos. These videos are mainly what I would call an in-depth review of a series. However, in recent times, Eyepatch Wolf has gone away from these types of videos to what I call narrative reviews. This category makes up 27% of his videos and capture many different types of videos within his discography, such as the fall of series and the impact of a series, and so on. These videos share many similarities with the Why You Should Watch series, but promise a narrative surrounding the topic. The impact of Akira, for example, has many arguments as to the quality of the film that Akira is, but it is framed through the promise that we will learn the impact that Akira had not only on the film industry, but on the anime industry. Maybe a subtle difference, but shows the type of historical context that Eyepatch Wolf applies to his videos. Then at 15%, we have videos that I am calling How Media Functions. These are videos such as What Makes a Hero Feel Real, Why The Shining is Terrifying, and How Media Scares Us. These focus on specific aspects of stories and argue how that story is able to make us feel a certain way, or what goes into a well-written character, like a villain or hero, or what goes into a good character design. Then, for our last 2 categories, we have journalism at about 9% and miscellaneous at 22%. For journalism, I am talking about the current state of Shonen Jump and bizarre modern reality videos, and miscellaneous is a combination of his 2 wrestling videos, his about 10 recommendation videos, a couple of Q&A videos, and other ones that didn't really fit our purposes for today. The journalism videos are a step further from the narrative ones, as they focus on how history has shaped Shonen Jump and a fandom versus how those series actually function themselves. When we look at all of these videos laid out on a graph, you can see how the historical perspective has become increasingly more important to the narrative and criticism of Super Eyepatch Wolf. It is important to note that all of these videos share similar aspects with each other, but when you separate them into these categories, it shows the importance of historical perspective that is provided by Eyepatch Wolf's criticism. When I am discussing criticism as a whole, I like to make separations as to the type of literary theory that is being used. There are so many different ways to read into a text, and honestly, as long as you have legitimate reasons for your argument, then I am totally fine with that. Looking at all of the different literary critics and theorists throughout all of history, you can then align yourself with one specific perspective. And for Eyepatch Wolf, that would be New Historicism. New Historicism is a relatively recent literary theory that started around the 1980s. New historicists look at the text through the lens of how history has shaped a specific piece of art. As Purdue University cites, New Historicism seeks to reconnect a work with the time period in which it was produced and identify it with the cultural and political movements of the time. For Super Eyepatch Wolf, you can directly see this line of thinking throughout his videos, specifically on the impact of Dragon Ball Z or the fall of Bleach, but it takes shape in almost every video he makes. However, since most of the series that are being discussed have been released relatively recently, and most have come out during his lifetime, the cultural and political movements that would typically be taken into account are replaced with his own experience of watching the series for the first time, adding a layer of emotion that I will get more into in just a little bit. Take, for example, the video in defense of the elevator scene. That video feels like a journalistic piece of writing trying to unveil why the elevator scene in Neon Genesis Evangelion came to be, looking at things like the events around the time, the directing style. But the conclusion that Eyepatch Wolf comes to, and the center of the video's argument, is that compromise is not a bad thing.
And I don't think it can really be argued that these limitations wouldn't have had a major effect on the way these episodes were made. But the question I have to ask is that really a bad thing?
Even though he is interrogating why the elevator scene came to be, Eyepatch Wolf finds many ways to weave that story into a piece of criticism on the value of stories as a whole. And that is truly what separates Eyepatch Wolf from many of the other people who criticize media on YouTube. Eyepatch Wolf is able to tackle emotion, meshing the historical perspective that he brings to many of his videos to how those stories relate to him personally. Almost every video he makes feels deeply personal, like you were getting a real peek into his life, and that is what drives home so many of these narratives for me. I first discovered Eyepatch Wolf at a time in my life where I was pretty mixed on what I wanted to do. I was dissatisfied with where I was at in film school and wanted to pursue something on YouTube, mainly because of the great work that I would see in Eyepatch Wolf's videos. He was able to articulate things in a way that I couldn't when I talked about why I liked a series or when I tried to recommend a series to a friend. He had an ability to get his message across in a way that I envied. And so I tried to make my own video essays to hopefully grow my ability to convey how I feel about the entertainment I consumed. And even though I feel that I have come a long way from the start, I know I still have a very long way to go. But it is the emotion behind all of Eyepatch Wolf's videos that got me so connected with the work that he was putting out. As Eyepatch Wolf argues in videos like why you should watch Berserk and why you should watch Yu Yu Hakusho,
I believe Mora very much writes himself as Guts. Mora, like Guts, is very solitary, a fact I learned when I tried to find some footage of Mora drawing. There is barely any photos or footage of the guy in existence, and often in interviews Mora cites the moment he decided to pull back from his college friends to walk his own path as a key moment in his life, which of course draws parallels to key plot events in Berserk. Investing his own experiences in the story like this gives Berserk an authentic emotional appeal.
You could see the artist's life bleed into their work, and their emotional state reflects that of the characters in the series. And I think that same quality that makes those series feel so relatable plays into why all of Eyepatch Wolf's videos have the same feeling. Eyepatch Wolf creates a strong narrative around the series or piece of media that he is discussing, and backs that narrative up with a very historical perspective to ground the viewer in the topic he is discussing. But he then adds to the emotion of how those stories have affected him in his own personal life to drive home the quality or lack thereof for the piece of media being discussed. It is for these reasons why I think his criticism is so valuable and worth looking into, and for these reasons why you should watch Super Eyepatch Wolf. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Obviously, Super Eyepatch Wolf is absolutely one of my favorite YouTubers. The quality of his work is just so high that I hope this video just was able to break a little bit into what makes his videos so good. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely, if somehow you are watching this and you've never seen Super Eyepatch Wolf, go check him out. And I hope to see you guys in the next one.